Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad you all could be with us. Also, those joining us are online affiliates around the world, thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. It's been great sharing with you guys some of the films I've had a chance to watch as we're wrapping up this year. One of them is called simply Sunny Side Up. It's really funny, but it really tackles some serious issues that I think all of us can relate to. We're excited to welcome writer and director Mike-Melo to our program, as well as actor Hunter Davis. We're going to talk to the two of them not only about the film, but also their own creative journeys, what it was like for them to bring their own experiences to this film, and of course we'll let you guys know how to be able to see it for yourself. Mike, Hunter, hello to you, and welcome to the program.
Hey there. How's it going, Cyrus?
Hey, going really well. Glad to have the two of you on with us. So, Mike, I'll start with you. I mean, this film, there are parts of it that are really funny, others, I think, very thoughtful. How does it feel to now be able to share this film with the world?
I think it feels great, but it's an interesting time in the world. So, in that sense, I think maybe it's something that people can relate to, given how the world is now. Maybe so than years prior, perhaps. So I think it's very fulfilling in that sense. I also think it's something that I deal with in terms of anxiety and social anxiety in particular. So I think maybe it's a good time for people to connect on that topic, perhaps.
Mike, I could not agree more with you. We're going to talk more about that. I think it is so timely, whether it was meant to be or not, for sure.
Right.
Hunter, what about for you? You've been a part of some great projects over the years. This is definitely one of them. How does it feel for you to be able to now to share this particular film with the world?
Well, we worked on this film quite a while ago, and sometimes it takes a bit to get films out, and we had always been going back and forth of when's the best time to release it, and it's essentially about a guy that decides he's going to stay in his apartment for a month and not kind of deal with the world. And what's really interesting about that, when COVID started, it was like, oh no, people don't want to hear this story. They're dealing with it on their own. And then as COVID continued, it's kind of like Michael was saying, it ended up being very kind of timely. So to get that out now and to where people can relate to it more nowadays than they would have 6 months ago or a year ago, it really is. It's really a good feeling that people are maybe will take something more from it, seeing it now than they would have. So I think it's hitting at a perfect time.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, let's go back to you for a second. I want to talk about the creative journey for you. For those who are just now being introduced to your work, have you always known that creating was something that you wanted to do in some form or fashion?
I think so. I've always been fascinated with storytelling. Back in the college days, I was pursuing a degree in computer animation specifically. And so I went out to Los Angeles, starting in work in that field, but immediately within a couple of years of doing that, I got more interested in the story aspect of things as opposed to the artistic side solely. And so I started to branch out in the storytelling realm and just develop my craft from there. But I think I've always been interested in some form of art expression.
Yeah. And of course, Hunter, for you, people know you from different types of projects. I think when people see Sunny Side Up, I think they will see a different side of you with Gregory than in some of the other projects. Have you always known that creating or being in the arts was something that you wanted to do, Hunter?
It really has been. I think I've wanted to be an actor before I even knew what an actor was as a kid. and I did theater growing up, and it would range from doing comedic stuff, but I always gravitated towards more dramatic material too. And I think kind of as I got out of college, it was very easy to do comedy stuff on YouTube, but and the internet, but it's harder to do kind of deeper things. So that's what was great about Sunny Side Up, to kind of tap into some heavier themes in a feature-length film.
Right. So, Mike, let's go back to the actual story, and we'll talk around this because we're going to remind our audience how they can be able to watch it. I saw it through our friends at Amazon Prime, but it's available on all of the streaming sites. You know, this story of Gregory, I think, is one that it's so ironic. Even before COVID, I think people can relate to what it's like to feel out of place, not really know how to deal with the world. I have to be honest with you. When I first saw the trailer initially, when it was first pitched to me, the first thing that came to my mind was Wanted. How we were able to see that kind of that transformation in that film. The idea of kind of dealing with the world can be a scary thing. What was it like for you to kind of tell that story through Gregory's voice, literally, in this film?
It was a tough process because, like I said, I've dealt with varying levels of anxiety throughout my life, and in particular, the story came to me after the passing of my grandmother. So it was around that time, life was a little surreal. There were a lot of things going on, and I just felt like I wanted to close myself off from everybody. And it's tough. Working in these projects as well, you tend to edit for a while, you tend to disappear, and then you reemerge, and that reemergence is a little scary sometimes. And there is this self-deprecating sort of thought that happens, at least in my head, a lot of times, that I have to learn how to suppress or know that it's even there. And so in processing this and the whole process of filming as well, and to actually see it come to fruition, I think it was just, it's cathartic, but also difficult to process what it is that you're actually feeling. So like you said, feeling like you don't fit in the world, or that negative self-talk, but how do you portray that so maybe somebody else might see what you're going through or can understand that? So it was an interesting process. I think like you brought up the voice, it's not the most conventional way to tell a story in film, but I had long discussions with Hunter, and ultimately it felt like this was the way to represent what anxiety at least can feel to me. Yeah.
And I think to a lot of people, honestly, Mike, to be honest with you, I know I have, of course, I don't know what that says about me either, but I mean, I know I have felt that and experienced that, the voice. So, Hunter, what was it like for you to have that beautiful challenge of telling this story, not only, of course, in the actions, but also in the thoughts?
Well, it was challenging in a variety of ways. One, just in the filming itself, I literally stayed in the apartment that and slept in the bedroom that I stayed in the film. So I kind of lived Gregory's life in this apartment for a few weeks. So that isolation sort of naturally came into the process, and it really started to blend the boundaries between the script and just me kind of being myself. And then at the end of filming, that's when we tackled the voiceover. And so that was its own other challenge, and kind of, I don't think we could have done it the other way around. We're doing the voiceover first. I think I had to kind of go through that experience of filming and being isolated and living Gregory's life as my own life, and then kind of come out of that to be this almost antagonist of the film, I would say, is this voiceover. And it was really fascinating, and I kind of got to tap into my own insecurities and own issues, and kind of let that out and play its course. So it wasn't easy, but it was good. It was therapeutic in some odd way.
Yeah. I want to widen out the conversation for a moment. I know we've been kind of talking about it in the lens, of course, the year that's been 2020. But, Mike, I have to say, in watching this, too, and I'm curious as to your thoughts about this, Hunter, I'll come to you with this. I think a lot of people in the creative community can relate to this film in a lot of different ways because we all kind of are living, isolated in a sense, right? I mean, are trying to, especially when you're working on a project, as Hunter, that's what made me think about this, as Hunter was talking about, we kind of get so into it, or into that world, and then stepping out into the quote-unquote real world again is not always the easiest. I mean, could you have imagined when you were writing this, Mike, that it would kind of speak to the creative community in general about what they kind of feel sometimes?
What's been interesting about the beginning of this was I wasn't thinking much about. I first wanted to accurately portray sort of what I had experienced, and then I started to broaden that conversation and talk to other people. I talked to health professionals, and just throughout the spectrum, and then I started to kind of process that other people do experience this more readily than it may seem. Like you said, to your point, especially in creatives, we live in a world where we're putting out content, or we're trying to communicate with one another, and this is one way to do so. But we also do retreat. When we do come back into the world, it could be months later. The world continues, right, while you're still stuck in this mind frame. And there's a sort of self-doubt as well as you're putting this stuff out, because you hope that people can connect with it, or that you're at least doing it justice. You want to value the topic that you're sort of addressing and how you're putting it out there. So, that is a good point. I didn't really think about it from, creatives specifically, but I think we can all relate to that sort of process of trying to communicate with an audience or to whoever's seeing this, being true to that, re-emerging into the world and having those conversations, and then hoping that you did all right.
Yeah, for sure. What about for you, Hunter? What did that kind of feel like part of the creative journey for you in telling this story too?
Well, I think something like social anxiety, you don't, or this kind of negative self-voice, you don't see too much in film because it's a hard thing to portray, and kind of going throughout this, I think it's almost everyone's own little kind of dirty secret, oh, I feel these things, oh, I have this, but you don't think of other people having it because it's so personal and so connected to you. Oh yeah, I drive myself crazy with this inner voice sometimes telling me that what am I doing is dumb, or I'm just going to screw up, or why did I say that? And that's not really talked about, or you don't really see that in movies or TV. So I think getting to really find a way to explore that like we do in this film, it's allowed us to see that, wow, a lot of people can relate to this in some ways.
Yeah.
Now, some people, like Gregory, deal with it on a very much a daily basis to where it is debilitating to some degree. And other people are like, I have moments where I feel like this, and it's not all the time, but yeah, I definitely have gone through periods in my life where I feel like that. So, and just kind of more people watching the film, we keep hearing more stories like that. So it's really humbling in a lot of ways, and it kind of shows that this film is a lot more universal to people than I think we initially even thought at first.
One of the great things about the arts, for sure, I want to say for those who are just tuning in on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome writer and director mike-melo and actor Hunter Davis to our program today. We're talking with them about their own individual creative journeys, but how they've come together with a new film that's out now called Sunny Side Up. definitely invite you guys to watch it. You will laugh. It will definitely make you think. And I think one of the big messages, guys, from this conversation as well as from the film is that you don't have to go through this thing called life alone. Mike, how did that message resonate with you?
I think, like Hunter was saying, the outpouring of people that have reached out and expressed to us sort of what they've gone through. We had some screenings down in Sarasota Film Festival a few years back that sort of solidified that as well, where you know, a lot of people would come to us after the film was done with, and we just sat there having conversations about people's lives and how either some people said that they deal with this on a daily basis, and it was a good representation to show other people. Some people said that they had family members that they never quite could connect, even though they wanted to, and it was something that bridged that gap. And there were even some people that said that they didn't know that this existed at all, and it kind of opened their eyes to maybe what some other people deal with. So I think that's how it resonates with me, and that, like Hunter said, there's a lot of people reaching out, expressing that they do go through this. And like we touched on before, even if everyone felt this and maybe didn't speak about it, or maybe they didn't feel this quite as much, I think this year has sort of solidified the human experience in going, we all deal with insecurities, there's hardships, and that voice and that anxiety kind of lingers. It's okay, and like you said, we're not alone. And I think it's important that we have these discussions.
Such a good point. Such a good point. Again, everyone, Mike-Melo and Hunter Davis have been our guests. Great conversation with the two of you guys. Again, the film is Sunny Side Up. I watched it through our friends at Amazon Prime. You guys can see it through your favorite streaming site. And, Mike, how can our audience stay connected with you and the updates?
I think the easiest way for me would probably be to go to oldmanhenry.com. Old Man Henry is the production company, and you'll get updates there, and you can contact us through there, myself as well.
And Hunter, what about you for yourself?
Probably like everyone, I'm more of an Instagram person, so I'm at Mr. Hunter Davis, Mr. Hunter Davis, and my YouTube channel has a lot of our old work on it too, and kind of more wacky comedy stuff, and that's youtube.com/Hunter Davis.
Well, guys, thanks again for the time. I really appreciate you stopping by and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Same here. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.